Tom Allen and the Indiana Hoosiers are looking for a big bounce back year this year in Bloomington, Indiana. How much better are they going to be?
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Really appreciate that. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe. Do me a favor. Appreciate it. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. A very energetic Tom Allen, no doubt about it, very fiery personality, trying to get IU going in the right direction. We're going to talk about that today. Analysis of the season, the schedule, what to expect, and also our Big Ten power rankings later on at the end of the show. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcasts. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Tom Allen, 8 years already at Indiana University, 30 and 40 overall, and making a lot of changes. Got a couple of pictures. By the way, those of you listening on the audio podcast, we do the video version on YouTube. Got a great picture of Tom Allen, fiery, laughing, smiling. His kids absolutely love playing for him. They will run through a wall for him. If you've ever seen his locker room speeches, you know what I'm talking about, either pregame or postgame. He is fired up. The networks who were covering Indiana that day always want to make sure and get the camera shot inside the locker room when he's talking to the team. It is something else. Everybody got a little bit fired up about how things were going at Indiana a few years ago. You'll remember that during the COVID year of 2020, they went 6-2 and they beat Penn State and they beat Michigan and everybody was all excited. And then some people want to say, hey, it was a COVID year. It was just, things were just different. But they forget that the year before Indiana was 8-5. So Tom Allen started to get things going. And then the last two seasons, just a total of 6 wins. So something had to change. And you know what's going to change? Everything. The roster from top to bottom. And instead of recruiting and waiting and hoping, now it's recruiting and hitting that transfer portal. A lot of guys are gone. A lot of guys are coming in. Whole new roster. I mean, just at the quarterback position alone over the last several, 2 years ago, they lost Michael Penix Jr. He went to Washington. Sad to see him go there because the guy might actually win a Heisman this year. And Jack Tuttle's gone from last year. He transferred to Michigan. He's going to be a backup there. Connor Bazelak is now at his third school in 3 years, going to Bowling Green. So there hasn't been a lot of steady stability for Tom Allen at that quarterback position. They got 4 guys under scholarship right now on the team, and they all are interesting in their own rights. Dexter Williams, I think, is the most intriguing one, athletically speaking, as a dual threat quarterback. And he was starting to come on and getting his chance and getting some snaps at the end of last year, had a devastating injury against Purdue in the last game of the season. So he's still working on that, trying to come back from that. And then it's 3 inexperienced freshmen. So that could spell trouble, but they're intriguing. Spell trouble for most people, but I don't know. Brendan Sorsby, he only threw 6 passes against Penn State. He's a dual threat last year. Brock Lowry came to school early out of a high school in Ohio where he won a state title, threw 16 touchdowns and ran for 26 more. The guy that's going to get the shot, I think, though, is Tayven Jackson. He is a redshirt freshman. He is Trayce Jackson-Davis's brother. Of course, Trayce Jackson-Davis just finished a stellar career at Indiana and is now a member of the Golden State Warriors, was just picked in the draft a couple of weeks ago. Tayven played 3 games at Tennessee, but he was behind Hendon Hooker, so he really didn't get a chance to play. He's from Indiana. He went to Center Grove High School nearby. He's coming back home to Indiana, and I think he's going to be given – he was a 4-star out of high school. I think he's going to be given every opportunity to start for Tom Allen in the Indiana Hoosiers, and we're excited about seeing him. I say we. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, you know I'm the host of Locked On Big Ten. I love everything about the Big Ten from top to bottom. growing up in Michigan, but I did go to Indiana University. So just disclosure there. But I'll keep it even, man. I'll keep it even. The analysis will be right down the middle here. So enjoy it. We're doing Purdue tomorrow, by the way. At wide receiver, a lot of transfers. Clemson wide receiver E.J. Williams is coming in. He played 32 games for Clemson. Maybe he'll be a weapon. He's 6'3". He's big. Donovan McCulley returns at wide receiver. Some experience there. Leading wide receiver Cam Camper, working back from an ACL tear. That was a tough deal. He had 46 catches in 7 games before the injury last year. And another guy I'm intrigued about, don't know much about, haven't seen much of him, DeQuince Carter, a slot receiver, and played at Fordham and scored 31 touchdowns. Just one of those guys. Can he do it at the next level in the Big Ten? He's going to be somebody we're going to watch, again, out of the slot position at wide receiver. At running back, Sean Shivers, he's gone. They got to replace him. But Christian Turner, he comes in from Michigan. He's been at Michigan and Wake Forest, kind of a big slasher. See if we can find a role there for him at Indiana. And Josh Henderson, a big back, comes back, can catch out of the backfield, 24 catches out of the backfield, played all 12 games last year. And the year before, he was a transfer in from North Carolina, from the Tar Heels. Then they also have Jalen Lucas, returns for his sophomore year. And this guy is just a bundle of speed. He's a year older, bigger, stronger. I'm really excited to see that this is a solid backfield. There's no doubt about it. Jalen Lucas coming back. He was first team All-American as a kick returner, and he's going to be getting a lot more carries. So the run game needs to improve, no doubt about it. I wish I could say 3 yards in a cloud of dust, the old saying of the Big Ten. It was more like 1 yard in a cloud of dust sometimes last year. They really struggled. They were 13th in the Big Ten in rushing, and that is something they got to get better at. And I think they will. The line that they're going to be running behind, got to get better. No question about it. They got a new offensive line coach, Bob Bostad from Wisconsin. He comes in. They're going to use a lot more dual threat at quarterback. That'll help out the offensive line a little bit. Matthew Bedford tore an ACL in the opener last year against Illinois. I was at that game, by the way. He's coming back, and he's coming back strong. In fact, there are rumors he may be like all Big Ten on the offensive line. So that would be a great news for the Hoosiers. And then there's Max Longman, 6'4", 316 pounds, transfer from UMass. Why is that important? Well, their new offensive coordinator, Walt Bell, comes from UMass, and he brought this kid with him. So that's what we're looking at the offensive line with the Hoosiers. Now, let's take a peek at the defense here for just a moment. Andre Carter on the defensive line played 46 games, a transfer from Western Michigan. I keep saying transfer from. A lot of guys have come in here. It's an all-new team. He was second team All-MAC, 7 sacks. He's a 6-year player, so some experience up front. Philip Bleedy comes from Texas Tech at defensive tackle. Another transfer. And again, look, transfers are great, and even just bringing in new people, great. They're going to need time to gel together. Can they play together as a team? That is going to be the big question here. Some more at linebacker with the Hoosiers. Cam Jones. Just talking about Andre Carter. Cam Jones, he's off to the NFL playing with Kansas City Chiefs, so they lost some NFL talent there. Aaron Casey comes back. He was their leading tackler last year, and he was honorable mention all Big Ten. So that's good, a good solid anchor in the middle of that defense. Another interesting transfer here, Jacob Mangum-Farrar, 5 years at Stanford, coming in for year number 6, going to play for the Hoosiers. And he's had a lot of injuries, but he's intriguing because he's got a lot of speed, a lot of length and strength, 85 tackles in 2 years that he played at Stanford. And I think he's going to go right in that starting slot there and play a middle linebacker. Defensive backs, they lost some talent. They lost 2 corners. Tawan Mullen, he's now with the Chargers. Jalen Williams, he's gone. So they have to rely on Jameer Johnson, 2 years at Texas. Had an interception in the spring game, though, by the way, caught everybody's attention. And then Nicholas Toomer, another Stanford transfer. There's a little bit of a pipeline from Stanford to Bloomington. And Noah Pierre will be at nickelback. Had a great spring. Everybody pretty excited about him. So that's a look at the Hoosiers. you literally need a scorecard or a roster card to figure it out because they're working hard. They're moving a lot of new faces, and they had the spring sessions together, and they're getting ready to start practice again, and it's all going to come together new. And as you'll see when we look at their schedule later on, it's all going to come together against Ohio State in the season opener. So better figure it out fast, no doubt about it. Let's take this opportunity to take a quick peek at the recruits coming in for 2024. 24/7 has them ranked 59th, very modest in recruiting. Adedamola Johnny is a 6'4", 270-pound inside linebacker from Speedway, so good job by the Hoosiers. They kept him in state. Timothy Carpenter is a 3-star quarterback out of Dayton, Ohio. He is signed to come in. Judah Jenkins, a corner out of Maryland. And Christian Peterson, a 6-foot, 3-star corner out of Carmel, Indiana. Another one of my alma maters coming in, making the top 4 of their recruiting list. So that's it in a nutshell. That's how it looks. That's the roster. More than a nutshell. That's a good look at the roster and a quick peek at the future as to who's coming in the future in Bloomington, Indiana. So now that we've looked at that, in a moment, I want to take a look at the Hoosiers' schedule and give you an honest assessment and analysis game by game on how I think the Hoosiers will do this year as we continue on Locked On Big Ten. But first, we are brought to you by FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20. You'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think might hit the first home run, first strikeout. All those prop bets, those are the fun ones. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. Nothing better than getting paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get up to $200 bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, as we continue to break down the Indiana Hoosiers on Locked On Big Ten, let us take a look at the schedule. As I just mentioned a moment ago, they do have the dubious distinction of opening up against Ohio State on September 2nd for the season opener, Big Ten opener, right out of the box at 3:30. As we look at this schedule, if you're Indiana or any other team in the Big Ten, I mean, if you're in the Big Ten East and you've got Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, you're going to have one of the, if not the toughest schedule in all of college football every year. That's just the way it is. So, and that's going to change a little bit with the realignment and the addition of UCLA and USC and the new schedules that have been released, but that's for another time. Right now, this is what we got to deal with. If you're a team in the Big Ten East, open up with Ohio State. The one thing, now Ohio State beat them by like 42 points last year. The spread's only 28 this year, FYI. Speaking of FanDuel, 28-point spread. Kyle McCord's going to be the new quarterback. CJ Stroud is gone. Maybe. Season opener jitters, maybe a slow start, new quarterback in the system, Kyle McCord. Maybe the Hoosiers can hang. It's going to be a tough game. I'm just going to be as honest as I can be. That's going to be a tough one for the Hoosiers. Ohio State is just absolutely loaded. Week 2, the Hoosiers take on the 8th of September. They take on Indiana State for a 7 p.m. game. Should be able to win that football game. The next one is, I think, a real good test to see if Indiana has gotten better. Week 3 at home against Louisville. That's a noon game. Jeff Brom is the new coach. He was the coach at Purdue. He left there to go back to Louisville. New team, new coach, just still working things out. It's at home for the Hoosiers. I think it's a possibility they can win that game, followed by their game on the 23rd of September against Akron. Should be able to win that as well. And then the Hoosiers hit the road for the first time, Game 5, September 30th at Maryland. Maryland beat the Hoosiers last year, 38-33. It was a very competitive game. Talia Tungavaloa got hurt in that game. And man, I remember I was watching it live at the time. It looked like it was really bad, but it wasn't as bad as it looked, thankfully for him. And he bounced back, and he's expecting a huge year this year too. Let's put an asterisk by that one. Again, two competitive teams kind of at the same level, or maybe Maryland's a little ahead of Indiana. We'll come back to that one because then the Hoosiers go into the bye and they get 2 weeks to work on the Michigan game plan. Taking on Michigan on October 14th at Michigan at the Big House, a team they lost by 21 points last year. It's tough sledding. What can I say? It's tough. After that, they get to come back home, the Hoosiers do, and take on Rutgers for a noon game. That's going to be, I think Rutgers and Indiana kind of the same spot, trying to improve and get better. And then the Hoosiers take on Penn State at Penn State, a team they lost to 45-14 last year at Bloomington. This one's at Penn State. That's going to be tough. Penn State's loaded this year. I think they're just about as good as Ohio State and Michigan as well. Then they get to come home and take on Wisconsin. That's going to be tough. Then on the 11th of November at Illinois, they beat Illinois in the season opener in Bloomington last year, 23-20. That's going to be a tough challenge for both teams. And I think that's a 50-50 game. I think it's a coin flip game. Then they come home, the last home game of the season, the Hoosiers, on the 18th of November against Michigan State. They beat Michigan State last year in double overtime on a snowy day in East Lansing, 39-31. I expect Michigan State to be better. I expect Indiana to be better. This is another coin flip. We got a lot of coin flip. I'm not waffling. I'll make a decision, but I'm just telling you, these are a lot of 50-50 games on here. And then they close it out on the road Thanksgiving weekend, rivalry Saturday against Purdue for the Old Oaken Bucket. And Purdue won 30-16 last year. That was the game Dexter Williams went out and things just kind of fell apart. So, I've got like 5 games on the schedule. I got asterisks by that could go either way. The Louisville game, the Maryland game, the Rutgers game, Michigan State, and then Purdue. There's 5 games can go either way. If they can win 3 out of those 5, go 3-2 in those 5 games, pick up a couple other wins against, Indiana State and Akron. 5-7, I think, is the basement. If they can get a few more of those 50-50 games, or maybe knock off a Wisconsin or in Illinois or somebody, maybe 7-5. So I think that's the window for the Hoosiers this year. 5-7 to 7-5. And if they can steal one somewhere else in there and get a 6th win and get back to a bowl game, the first season, totally revamping their roster, I think that would be a success for Tom Allen. And I think they'd be pretty excited about that. So that's how it shapes up. That is an honest assessment of the Indiana football season coming up. I want to thank all of you, obviously, for checking out Locked On Big Ten, making us your first listen each and every day. Every day is our next show. Tomorrow is going to take an early look at the Purdue Boilermakers. Ryan Walters, a brand new coach there. And we'll see what's in store for them. Also, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching right now, click below, subscribe, share, follow, like Locked On Big Ten. And coming up in a moment, we are going to take a look at our weekly feature on this day of the week. We like to do Big Ten power rankings. Since we don't have any teams to rank, the season's not going on, we find other things to rank. We are going to rank the Big Ten football coaches from top to bottom. Let the controversy begin. All that coming up on Locked On Big Ten. All right, so we continue on Locked On Big Ten. Again, thank you for checking us out. Here's what we're going to do. We have our Big Ten coaching power ranking. We're going to do the power rank the coaches here. Now, I'm going to keep myself out of trouble. I'm not afraid to make an opinion. In fact, I have a lot of opinions. I've taken this list from CBS Sports. They have put together, they did rankings of all the coaches in the country, and then they broke it down by conference. Okay. So I'm going to put this on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put it on screen. If you're just listening on audio only on the podcast, I'll make sure I describe everything that is on here. So I'm going to throw this up here, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time there's a lot on this list I do not agree with, and we will parse it apart. There's some I do agree with, but we'll take a look at it. All right, let's put it up. Here we go. We'll start with the honorable mentions. We got 14 coaches. We're doing a Power 10 ranking list here. So 4 guys are going to get left off. Tom Allen is left off, according to CBS. He just spent the last 20 minutes telling you how much I like what he's doing there at Indiana. I think he's one of the greatest motivators in all of college sports, certainly the Big Ten. Also, Mike Loxley at Maryland has a great pedigree with stops at Florida, Illinois, and Alabama before going to Maryland. Then we've got Greg Schiano. We did Rutgers a couple of days ago, their season preview. Told you I think he is the only man for that job, and he can turn it around. Plus, he's got the NFL pedigree in his background as well. And then Ryan Walters is at the bottom of their list from Purdue. He's 37 years old. He just came from Brett Bielema's staff at Illinois. We don't know anything about how he's going to do. It's a fresh start. So, again, no disrespect to these coaches. They're all great coaches. But now let's rank the rest of them. Again, this is according to CBS Sports. And at number 10, they got Mel Tucker at Michigan State. He's got a lot of NFL in his background. Head coaching stops at Colorado and Michigan State. Had a very good football coach, 2021 Big Ten Coach of the Year. Got the big contract. They like him there at Michigan State, looking to turn things around. They had Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern at number 9. He is no longer the head coach at Northwestern as of Monday. But I think a good coach, and I'm going to be interested to see if he goes the NFL route or gets another shot somewhere else in college football. He is also very young. At number 8, Kirk Ferentz of the Iowa Hawkeyes, 25 years. Can you imagine that? Quarter of a century as a head football coach, same team, 2 Big Ten titles along the way. 4-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. Should be ranked higher than 8th, in my opinion. Should be ranked way higher. Because, look, at number 7, they've got Matt Rule and Nebraska. Look, he was a pretty good coach at Baylor. Didn't really work out for him with the Carolina Panthers in the NFL. Now back in the college game at Nebraska. But his record is 0-0. I don't know how you could say a guy is the 7th best coach of anything, particularly the Big Ten, if he hasn't coached a single game. So I do have a problem with that. Ahead of him at number 6 is PJ Fleck from Minnesota. He was a 2-time Coach of the Year in the MAC. He was a Coach of the Year once in the Big Ten. And by the way, did you know that PJ Fleck was once upon a time a player for the 49ers? I didn't realize that till recently. Practice squatter, but he had a cup of coffee in the NFL as a player back in the day. Pretty cool fun fact there. Brett Bielema is at number 5 out of Illinois. He's been at a lot of Power 5 schools. Been at Wisconsin, been in Arkansas. Now he's at Illinois trying to get it turned around. Has NFL experience with the Patriots and the Giants as well. At number 4, James Franklin at Penn State. And they've also, he was 10th, by the way. So everybody here moving forward, the top 4 coaches in the Big Ten, according to the CBS list, are also top 10 coaches out of all of college football. So they have him as the 10th best coach in the country, 4th best in the Big Ten. And 2016 Big Ten championship and making like $10 million a year. They love him there at Penn State. He's rolling. I might have put him a little higher. I definitely would have put him a little higher. At number 3, they have Luke Fickell out of Wisconsin. By the way, they have him as the 9th best coach in the country. I don't have a problem with that, what he did at Cincinnati, but he has coached a grand total of 0 games in Wisconsin. It's great at Cincinnati. He'll be great at Wisconsin. I have no doubt. He is yet to coach a single down in the Big Ten, and they have him listed as the 3rd best coach in the Big Ten. I think that's ridiculous. At number 2, Ryan Day. They have him 8th overall, but 2nd in the Big Ten. Look, for a long time, he probably would have been number 1 on this list in the Big Ten, but the 2 losses in a row to Michigan, that hurt him. But, I mean, Buckeyes fan, guy's only lost 6 games in 4 years. Going to be near the top of anybody's list for sure. 8th best in the country, 2nd best in the Big Ten, according to CBS. And at number 1, Jim Harbaugh. He's earned his way there at Michigan. 4th best coach in the country, by the way, according to CBS. 2 Big Ten championships, 2 playoff appearances. 2 times beating Ohio State in the last 2 years. And that's the list. Again, Jim Harbaugh, number 1, Ryan Day, 2, Luke Fickell, 3, James Franklin, Brett Bielema, PJ Fleck, Matt Rule, Kirk Ferentz, Pat Fitzgerald, who's no longer there, and Mel Tucker rounding out the top 10 Big Ten coaches on CBS. If you want to gripe, complain, or praise this list, or talk to me about it, hit me up at Twitter, at Talk Big Ten, or you can also hit me on the comments. If you watch on YouTube, again, feel free to subscribe. Those comments below, I every other night or so, I go in there and I catch up and I answer everybody. Would love to hear from you. All right. And so hit me up on that. Want to thank you, as always, for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. Every day is our next show. We'll take an early look at the Purdue Boilermakers football team. As I mentioned, don't forget, contact me at Talk Big Ten on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe down below, everybody. That's where I want to, that'd be doing me a great favor, by the way. Subscribe below and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. Now, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for the latest on everything else going on in sports. In the meantime, have yourself a great day. Thank you very much for checking us out. I really appreciate it. I can't wait till the next time we meet. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.